The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies, Geek Nation Tours, and also by the generous donations of you, the listener. Many thanks to everyone for your continued support. We really appreciate it, guys. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast, episode 203, Pig Iron Productions, with hosts Neil Shook, Mike Hobbs, Mike Whittaker, and Dave Luff, and guest Alex Speight. Oh, and by the way, happy birthday, Alex. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. I'm Neil Shook, and on this show, well, at least for this bit, I am joined by the Welsh wizard. It's Mr. Michael Hobbs. Hello, sir.
Hello, Neil, and hello to the Meeps.
To the Meeps. How do you think that's going? Do you think that, that was announced last week. How do you think that went down on Twitter then, mate?
Early days, Neil. Early days, you know. You can't expect to have a revolution in one day. We need to keep on with, shout outs to the Meeps.
To the Meeps.
The worlds.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking balloons of the lead variety, but there we go.
Give me 4 or 5 years, mate. I'm going to have this. There will be a hashtag for the Meeps.
Well, let's face it.
A community of Meeps.
Indeed. Let's face it. You know, when he first started, the Welsh wizard was not somebody not too far. He wasn't a particular fan, but that appears to have stuck. So there we. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Well, for this part for this part of the show, rather than the main interview, it is just the two of us. Basically, because we've just recorded the first episode of the Michael Hobbs Miniatures Wargames podcast.
First and only.
It's giving away our secrets, but usually we record shows probably 2 or 3 weeks in advance, depending on what we're doing. And we've just recorded quite a long show I think we teased it, didn't we? We said a couple of weeks ago we were going to be recording a show all about
a particular game that I used to play.
Let's
leave it at that. Small little Space Marines.
Small little Space Marines, indeed. Yeah, I think the comment from Mr. Love was, Space Pixies not interested in that.
Yeah.
Well, something along those lines. So, as it was, because of the general interest of that particular subject, and the fact that we already had 3 other guests on the show, so there are just the 2 of us. However, just because we are few in number does not mean to say that this isn't a good show. In fact, we're talking about in this show we are talking about one of my favourite ranges of miniatures, and I've been looking forward to recording this ever since they agreed to come on the show back last year. So really looking forward to this particular. I'm really looking forward to this particular show.
Yeah, this is going to be a goodie. So it's just me and Neil for the first and the last part. It's like the old time.
It's
like the old days.
It's like the old days, mate.
We haven't got the band. Yeah, but Dave and Mike are on the main interview, so you will get to hear their dulcet tones.
Indeed. But what we'll do, we'll take a swift break, and when we come back, we'll just kind of catch up and it will be a quick chat this time. It will be quick. With what we've been doing in the hobby this week.
I must get through to Sergeant Watson's position. Jenkins, cover me. Sir. Sergeant Watson, bring your men in. Withdraw. It's all right, sir. We're enjoying ourselves. What? Yes, sir. It's these here chain of command rules, sir. We're having great fun. Chain of command? That's right, sir. It's that challenging but fun blend of command and control. It gives me the freedom I want to fight the way I want to. Never had so much fun, sir. And we've cooked you some sausages. Can't be helped, sir. Me and the lads are staying put. Chain of command, World War II, platoon level rules from two fat laddies. They really put you in control. And they're even better than sausages.
What have we been playing? What have we been buying? We might even have painted something. The Meeples and Miniatures crew reveal all. Welcome back. So, we'll have a slightly shorter version of what we've been up to this week. And I think I'll go first for a change.
Well, you've got a 50-50 chance of going first or second, mate.
Well, this is it. Have I painted anything this week? No, I've still got I'm still got this cast. You know what? You know what? It's a blooming good job I don't own a Dremel. Because I tell you, over the last couple of days, if I actually owned a Dremel, I would have probably taken this thing off because it's really beginning to annoy me.
They might notice in the hospital when you go back in with this, you blue tag together again. Just to,
yes.
Sorry, but this is how it came.
It's like, excuse me, why is this wrapped in gaffer tape? Sorry,
Yeah.
it slipped. Yes.
Yeah.
So no painting, all modelling done this week. I am chomping at the bit to get some stuff done. I mean, especially with the fact that, Test of Honour's been out for over a week now, and you've seen all this stuff that people are talking about, and what have you. I'm desperate to get all that sorted out. Had a bit more terrain for that turn up, because I discovered another couple of companies who are making MDF buildings for Test of Honour. So what I've kind of done is that I want to do a huge kind of review of everything, of all the buildings and stuff that are out for it, what different people do. So I'll be, so for review purposes, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I've been picking up bits and pieces from various people. So this week I think it was Blots, who actually, funnily enough, I blogged about them last week. Blots. I completely forgotten about Blots. I think I ordered something from them a couple of years ago. And looking now what they do, they have a fantastic range of stuff. Not just MDF buildings, but, counters, gaming accessories, all that sort of thing. They got some really interesting stuff. So I had that. So I've ordered some MDF from that. I've ordered some from a couple of buildings, some CT Combat. Just to kind of get a nice, full, rounded comparison of all the MDF, or all the buildings out there, both MDF and resin, that people do. But obviously, I've got to wait to kind of put it all together and put it all out in various reviews and what have you. So, but yeah. The other thing I had, which was quite interesting, so many people are producing game mats these days. I got one this week from a company I hadn't used before called, have you come across Playmat? Playmats from Poland.
No, I don't think I've seen them.
Well, I hadn't, to be honest, and then they popped up because they started doing something. I must admit, I did think, why hasn't anybody else done this before? And now I may subsequently discover why people don't do this, but at the moment it seemed like a really good idea. And that was, they were doing. These were latex. But they're double-sided.
Double-sided latex?
Yeah, so basically what I did, because I was after a 3x3 playmat for Test of Honour. And then I happened to, I think I might have spotted it on, it might have been on it might have been a tweet I spotted, and they said, oh, we've just launched a new range of double-sided playmats. So basically what I picked up was one side was grass, the other side was cobblestones, which is a game mat I haven't got, but is ideal for things like whether it's Frostgrave or Empire of the Dead or anything like that. But they do them double-sided.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It was. They're kind of similar. Yeah, it's a similar. It's a similar thickness to vinyl. It's like 0.7 mil or what have you. But I just thought it was a really interesting idea. It worked out to be something. I think it was €34, including postage, for a double-sided playmat. And yeah, they look pretty decent.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I was quite impressed. So I mean, I'll put some pictures on the blog about it, and I'll talk about it because at one point we got to go back and talk about obviously for review purposes yet again. Talk about things. But I just thought that was a really good idea, and I mean, as I say, I might suddenly find out there's a reason why people don't do things double-sided. But for now, it seemed to me like an interesting idea. And that's about me. So apparently there's becoming a national shortage of cherry trees. Model scale cherry trees cherry blossom trees for some strange reason. Because I'm quite impressed here. This Test of Honor launch. I think it was Donna Simmons from Warlord tweeted that they sold something like 11,000 boxes.
Wow!
Now that's both base sets and expansions, but that ain't bad for a release, is it?
No, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Obviously, it's obviously caught the imagination. It's obviously caught the imagination with people. So I'm really looking forward to it, and we will be talking about it in depth on a future show, I promise. But first off, let's get this stupid cast off and get some painting done. But obviously, if Mr. Luff, if you're listening, yes, it will be after we've done all our building work for our Market Larden game. I promise. Yes. Anyway, that's me.
Okay. Before we do my bit, as we were talking about Market Larden, just need to say hi to Aid.
Oh, Aid Deacon. Aid Deacon. Hi, mate.
Yeah. Who's back in hospital. Mate, you just keep yourself safe, keep yourself warm. Don't worry about the organisation of Market Larden, because you can do it when you get back out, okay?
Indeed. Yeah, mate. Yeah, seriously, all the best, mate.
Yeah.
Take it easy. Don't think about anything else. Get better.
No excitement. Just keep calm. Keep the old ticket going.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. All the best, mate.
So, me, I've done stuff this week, which is odd because I've been working a stupid amount of hours.
I was going to say, considering the amount of hours you've worked in the last week, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, I just had to spend the weekend. I just felt I need to do stuff. So, I painted up some Conan miniatures. Well, one, but I painted up a single figure.
Oh, well, that's better than your output from the previous week. So Mojo partially back.
Mojo's partially back, yeah. And I painted up my last Total Battle Miniatures building, which I haven't posted pictures of. I'll put some pictures of that, which is quite nice. I got more on order. And I've done my big job for Market Larden as well. I've assembled my half-track.
Oh, yes, I did see. I did see that tweet of, I found my half-track. Perhaps I should get it out of the box.
Yeah. Well, it's been assembled and undercoated. So that's.
Have you assembled the correct variant? That's what I want to know. Or have you left it in such a way that you can change the 30 cal and the 50 cal around?
I'm going to be honest with you. Right? I'm not much of a World War II button pusher. It's a M3 half track, right? I know that Mr. Whittaker will probably tell me that I'm being completely wrong, and he'll give me the variant that I should be using. It's a half track. I'm going to put the 50 cal on it because it's cool.
Okay.
End of story there.
Okay. For everyone going to Market Larden, playing Mike's game, please check your army list.
It'll just say half track.
Oh!
If you don't like it, you don't have to use it. Right, so I've done that. I had a bit of a spurge buying things.
What? I'd say I'm shocked, but frankly,
No.
not at all.
Remember last week I mentioned I was looking at the Scottish Wars Battle Law expansion because it was only £15.
Yes.
Yeah, which I thought was a bargain.
None that is a good price. No, that's a good price. Yeah. Okay.
So I bought that.
No, but yeah, it's a good expansion. The Scottish Wars one has the Battle First Edition law version of things like Bannockburn and Stirling Bridge and stuff like that. So yeah, that's actually a really good expansion. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and then I was being on Amazon, I noticed that they also had some of the Battle Law Second Edition expansions, and I noticed they seem to be out of stock on the Fantasy Flight site.
Oh, okay.
So I bought 2 of those as well.
You bought 2 of those as well?
Yeah.
Okay, now, can I just check something here?
Mm.
Am I right in thinking that Battle Law 2nd Edition is set in the Rune Wars universe?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. And it uses 28mm models?
Yeah, they're slightly small. I probably put them about... Maybe, they're probably what we call traditional 25mm figures.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just want to ask just another little question here. Did you not mention last week that you pre-ordered Rune Wars?
No, that's a total lie. I mentioned it 2 weeks ago.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just putting those 2 comments out, juxtaposing those 2 things together. Carry on.
Yeah. So, yeah, I bought those. I think they're going to be different figures. I've been looking at the production figures of Rune Masters, what it's called.
Rune Wars.
Rune Wars. I think, they're completely different figures to what came in the Battle Law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, I know I could use them, but I'm not going to. Anyway. I also watched a game being played because I got invited over to my mate Mark's place on the weekend.
Oh, okay.
Where he was playing Baroque with another old mate of mine, Phil. So Baroque is
that's the Renaissance impetus.
Yeah. It's that era. So they were using it for English Civil War, but it's English Civil War, 30 Years War, probably up to 7 Years War, I suppose you could go up to. It's around that era. Yeah. Quite interesting. Yeah, they changed some of the mechanics from the basic game and tidied it up a bit. But we had a good chat about that. Apparently Mark had gone to a basic impetus tournament the weekend before using the new version of basic impetus, which I think you got.
I do have the new version of Basic Impetus. Yes, it is. It's on my review list, shall we say? Yes.
Yeah. The Impetus community haven't embraced it, shall we say?
I must admit, I haven't looked, but yeah, I see.
Apparently, it hasn't been very well translated.
Okay.
So there are some issues, and things are very vague and all over the place. Which is a shame because I really liked Impetus when it first came out.
And actually, the first version, or certainly the 1.1 version of the basic Impetus rules was pretty tight.
Mm. Yeah, apparently this version there are some translation issues, and he just didn't. Apparently, they spent most of the time people just not arguing, but just disagreeing on how rules were written and what they actually meant, because they're vague, shall we say. We had a good chat because, like I say, when I first played Impetus, I really liked it. And Mark has been to many tournaments playing Impetus over the years, and he said that people just stopped playing it because the rules just kept getting updated. Each expansion had changes to the core rules in them. So to play the game at a tournament, you literally had to take the rule book plus every single expansion plus pages and pages of notes and errata from the forum because he just kept changing the rules all the time. So it's hoped that the second edition will come out and we'll tidy up all of that, and just clarify things. But they said that he really needs to get a good editor because the translation really isn't very good. So it's a shame. But watch them play Baroque. I mean, Baroque looks really good.
And let's face it, Baroque is a system that's been out for a while now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it came out last year or so. So yeah, let's see how that goes. That's all I've been up to, other than work. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I did mention, I did forget to mention, I did play a game. We played a game last week. We did another run through of Temple of Elemental Evil. But this time we played it with 4 players as opposed to 2, and this time we actually got the rules right. As opposed to when 2 of us were playing when we played it on, as it turned out, we played it on far too hard a level. But anyway, however, I won't mention a lot about it because I had an interesting discussion with Mr. Luff about it because Luff is quite a fan of dungeon crawlers, and it was interesting to have his take on it. So hopefully we'll catch up with it in a future show, and we'll talk about it then because. Dave had some interesting points to make about it, but yeah, I quite like it. I think it's quite a decent game. Right, okay, so that's about all we've been up to. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, we will be chatting with Alex Speight from Pig Iron Productions.
The nation is vast. There are battlefields of old, great convention halls, and worlds of fantasy to explore. Who will guide us across this great geek nation?
Since 2010, Geek Nation Tours have been providing holidays for groups of like-minded people. Whatever your nature of geek, tabletop gaming, TV, film, comic books, sports or science, Geek Nation Tours caters for you. Visit www.geeknationtours.com for more details and join the great Geek Nation. We hope that you're enjoying this episode of the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you are, would you like to support us? There's a couple of ways of doing so. You can become a patron of the show by supporting us on our Patreon page. There you can give regularly every time we produce a show. Alternatively, you may want to give a one-off donation, and you can do that by using PayPal. For more details on both these options, please click on the Donate tab on our website www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. Have you ever wondered what's going on in wargaming? We do too. So come with us as we go behind the hobby with the Meeples and Miniatures interview. We're very pleased to welcome to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast Mr. Alex Speight from Pig Iron Productions. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Neil.
Welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, great to speak to you. As I said, Alex is now the owner of Pig Iron Productions, which, if you haven't heard of them, shame on you. They are the purveyors of some of the finest 28mm sci-fi miniatures out there at the moment. So it's great to have you on the show, and obviously we're going to be finding out loads more about everything to do with Pig Iron and what they've been up to and what's happening going forth. However, as anyone who's listening to the show on a regular basis knows, that the first thing we do is, when we have a new guest, is find out a bit about their gaming background. So, Alex, your starter for 10. How did you get into wargaming and the miniatures hobby?
Well, I guess that long ago, it's hard to remember. So I'm in my early 40s, and I've been wargaming now for about 30 years. Mm. I did a bit of D&D back in the day when it was a sort of little red book and people had just heard of it, and sort of kicked off with that as a kid because I was a weird geeky one that sort of stood out at class or generally hid at the back. And there was the York Wargames Club, which a mate of mine wanted to go to and was a bit frightened of going on his own. And I went with him. And there were these sort of wondrous toy soldiers on tables, and they were cool. And I wanted them, and I wanted to do it. And I knew nothing about it. And I sat and played WRG Renaissance Samurai, or at least I sat next to some chap who was willing to have a 13, 14-year-old lad sit by him and play with his toys. And I was hooked. 30-odd years later, here I am, sat in my Wargames room, surrounded by toy soldiers, with my wife in the corner packing up Pig Iron figures into a little packets so that people around the world can buy them off us. So I guess that was my start and where I am now.
Cool. So what sort of stuff have you done in the meantime? I mean, is there a particular game system you're into, or are you one of these butterflies that tries a bit of everything?
Oh my goodness! So literally after when I started wargaming, my love affair probably with World War II and tanks as a kid was the first thing, and that definitely was sort of the core of my wargaming, was Second World War type stuff. So at the moment I play a bit of bolt action. I'm also a bit of I've got to be writing rules and doing my own versions and playing games with my mates that are of our own concocting. Mm-hmm. Sometimes with the club, sometimes as sort of here at home or off at other people's places. So you might at any one time find me playing Great Escape's Iron Cross or bolt action, or it might just be a couple of pieces of A4 paper with some scratched out rules, and we're doing our own thing. Mm-hmm. Anything from sort of little sort of squad sized skirmishes or to the 2 or 3 companies of British infantry and tanks I've got in 28mm because I've been wargaming far too long and I've got far too many toys.
I don't think that's possible, is it?
I don't know, you'd have to ask Helen.
Don't worry, Alex.
I think you can't have too many toys, but the ones that you've stopped playing with are the ones that have got to go to make room for the new ones. So it's for me, I think I'll play anything as long as the people playing it are cool and the game concept's cool. At the moment, I'm sat here and I've got Perry Miniatures American Civil War 28mm plastics. There's about 300 of them painted on my table that I'm sort of speed painting, army painter style. I think I've got about 150 left to go, not including the cavalry, but let's not worry about that right now. There's, on the table in front of me, there's an Ark World Fantasy Knight who's probably going to be the main villain in my D&D campaign coming up. And there's also a new alien figure that's been put together for the first time, and that's a Pig Iron creation, and he's the very first one in resin. And he's sat in it in one piece, and I was just sticking him together before your phone call.
Pig Iron alien race. Ooh.
I know. Can you believe it? That came from a totally bizarre conversation with Alex Huntley from Ark World. We were sat next to him at Derby, and I said, I've always fancied having alien monsters. And he did a sketch, and currently I have 3 different models that have just arrived from him. But, it's strange how these things come about. Literally just a conversation, a sketch from him, and suddenly I've committed myself to a whole new range. And, of course...
that never happens to any of our guests.
Oh, my goodness. The most amazing thing is now is it's like, the first figure seems to cost an awful lot of money, but the next 100 are quite cheap. So it's a whole new world to be in, that of a miniature manufacturer. It's kind of weird and wonderful, which is kind of everything I hoped it would be, to be perfectly honest. So in answer to your question, I play everything that's put in front of me. I would be shocked if there was a gaming system you could name, or there's probably one you can name, that I hadn't played or at least peered over somebody's shoulder at.
So, are you still at the York Wargaming Club?
Well, I was the chairman of the club for quite a long time. In fact, I only gave that up last week. I think I'd done it, the last stint I'd done it was for 6 or 7 years, maybe with a year break in the middle. And I think the first time I was chairman, I was about 17. We did Vapnartak in the Merchant Adventurers. So I've sort of done that and been quite a lot to do with the organisation of Vapnartak and the club over the sort of 20 or 30 years I've been at the club. So yes, a little bit to do
Just
with
a little bit to do. I must admit that is a show that is kind of on my list of things to get to, which I just haven't quite made it to yet. I mean, everybody says it's a superb show.
It is. It's a fantastic show.
That's really nice of you to say. To be honest with you, of all my wargaming achievements, it's actually probably one of the ones that I'm the most proud of, because that show has gone from, it was always a nice show in the Merchant Adventurers, and it was really cool and everything, but it was dingy and dark and small and what it was, which was just just how it was, particularly back in those days. And then we were kind of forced to move to the racecourse, which actually wasn't me that did that transition. And then obviously we took it on about 7 or 8 years ago, and every single year Vapnartak seems to have got bigger and better, and we have to literally fight people with traders, particularly off with a stick, to get in. At the moment, it's sort of running at about 1,700 visitors, not including all the people who are in there playing games, putting things on, and generally having a good time and throwing money at the traders, it appears. But obviously this year I was part of for the very first time. So
it's quite a venue, though, isn't it? I mean, I've not been there for Vapnartak, but I've been there for the York Easter Model Railway show. It's compared to a lot of the other shows, it's one heck of a venue.
We're very lucky because of the light and the space. Every year there's bugbears and things like that. I think our next, or the consideration facing the York Committee the next time will be to probably expand the tabletop sale, because it just appears that you can't get 500 people simultaneously into it right now. So it's going to have to get bigger.
Strange, that.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? But the other thing is 500 wargamers who all want to see the same army that's got to be there at 50p for 500 figures. But that mysteriously isn't, because the way they act, you think we were giving it away. But to be perfectly honest, it's brilliant. It's sort of year on year, people sort of spend more and more people turn up. Same faces, new faces. It's great. And, coming down from Scotland, coming up from the south, I don't like to compare us to other shows. I just think that we are doing better, or Vapnartak has been doing better year on year, which is great.
Now,
so yeah.
For those of, especially our listeners not native to the UK, perhaps we better explain a bit more about this particular show. Is it actually the first show on the UK calendar, or it's either the first or the second, isn't it?
Second or third.
I think it might be the second or the third.
I'm pretty sure Ruben's already been to 1 or 2. So,
isn't there Penarth? It's before Hammerhead. I think there's one. Isn't there one in Penarth?
Yeah, Penarth's already been and gone, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's Penarth first. Yeah. There's Cheltenham just afterwards that Roby Jenkins runs.
Could I be really conceited and say it's possibly the first big major show of the year?
I think you're allowed.
Oh, well,
and if anybody wishes to disagree with me, I apologise in the most sincere terms, because I'm sure their show is just as wonderful.
Speaking as an ex-member of the Penarth District Wargames Club who put on Crusade, oh.
Okay.
I mean, you say a big show, and of course, one of the differences being is you in the north of England, which, to be fair, the shows seem to be fewer and far between in that part of the country.
Well, yeah, I think the thing is that people essentially want to go and they want to see a lot of stuff and they want to spend their money. Putting a show on is an expensive business. I wouldn't like to say what it costs to run Vapnartak, but it's thousands of pounds, and it's a big undertaking. And I think that any club or society that's going to, do that has to have a fair amount of backing, and it takes a lot of effort as well. And I think the York Club is really lucky in the fact that it really has got a solid core of people who, say, for example, on the day at Vapnartak, I know that 30, 35 people are going to turn up and help, and not just sort of stand around looking like somebody else is going to do it, but really dig in and get stuff done. And that goes throughout the year in the organisation as well. And I think that's kind of what makes the difference to any show, really. So anyway, Pig Iron.
Yes. Well, what was the phrase? We digress, but in a good direction. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, Pig Irons. So obviously, your love affair with toy soldiers has been quite long. How on earth did you get involved in Pig Iron?
Well, that's easy. I really liked Pig Iron figures. I have a lot of them. I had a lot of them before it came up for sale. And I was sat at work, which is a business that I co-own, and my business partner said, Pig Iron's closing down. And I said, oh, and some other words that I won't say. That's a shame. And then I thought, crikey, I'll have to get the figures that I want. And there weren't many things in stock that I wanted. And then my business partner, Chris, said, you should buy it. And I said, you're right, I should. Why not? So according to Lisa, who was, Simon and Lisa were the previous owners, about 5 minutes after they put their Facebook post up to say that they were going to close down, they didn't say they were going to sell it, they were literally going to close it, I'd made them an offer. I'd been on the phone and I had made them an offer for it. There were apparently some other interested parties, but for some strange reason they accepted ours. I don't know if that's because we paid 3 times as much as anybody else, but we didn't pay a lot for it. But I just it was almost initially a bit of a crazy whim, which was, can I afford it? And the fact was I could, and Helen and I chatted about it. We have a little bit of a history of selling things at trade shows and doing all kinds of weird and wonderful things together. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Because it would be our business and our sort of thing. And she said, yes, of course, she's ace. So we bought it and we own Pig Iron. And now I have more Pig Iron figures and bigger Pig Iron armies. And I also get to sell it to people around the world, which is just crazy. I can't believe it, part of it. You sort of look at the website and go, that's mine. When I look at the piles and piles of figures in sort of neatly stacked in shelves and things, and I think, wow, they're mine. And the, new things like our drop pod that I've had built. It's not a drop pod. Ooh, it's an assault pod. Mustn't call it that. Bad. Anyway, and the aliens that are coming out and the existing ranges are getting several new figures, and I'm just sort of trying to work out details on what they're going to be. Hopefully that'll be towards the end of the year. But yes, I'm afraid you're talking to a crazy mad wargamer who had a bit of money lying around and decided to buy himself a Wargames business, and then worried about what he was going to do with it afterwards. Just my whole plan is to sort of keep it as its own entity, to keep its ranges going, so that they will be added to. That's only been done on a tiny, tiny scale so far, but we're just building up stock and generally getting a feel for the business. We're just coming to the end of our first year with it, and it's just great. The customers have supported us and come back, and we get lots of comments from them, and so far they're all positive, which is really shocking. And we're trying little bits of new things. For example, my other business is an engravers. We have laser cutters.
Oh,
so we're doing a tiny bit of MDF. So that was the very first. That was one of the little things that we've added, and there's more MDF buildings on the way, because I've got, again, a few of them sat around me at the moment that are waiting for me to finally see whether they're easy to put together. I've got to test them on some guinea pigs, and once I've done that, they'll be out for release. It's just brilliant. I can't believe that I sell little resin tanks to people in Australia, Norway, and Alaska all on the same day. It's my own little arm.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's be fair, Alex. They're not little.
Yeah.
They're a big chunk of resin.
Well, no. Yeah, but they're kind of little. If somebody threw one at you, you'd duck. Okay. Yeah. And the next tank is actually going to be a little bit bigger as well. So
bigger? Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. Well, I decided that maybe some firms shouldn't have the monopoly on stupidly large tanks. So we'll see how that goes.
So, Alex, first of all, thank you for getting Pig Iron, because I know, it would have been a huge shame to see it disappear, because it's just a fact. I mean, it's fantastic range, lovely figures. Just for you to actually get off your ass and do it is a fantastic thing, because otherwise it will be gone. So that's a great thing. But let's look at the ranges, because Pig Iron was always famous for its sort of sci-fi figures, wasn't it? With the sort of colony militia and the infantry. And you've mentioned that you're going to be expanding those. So have you managed to keep the same sculptors in place?
No. No. Simon did all his own sculpting, and he had won himself to a thin edge trying to keep Pig Iron going and his design business. So unfortunately, that's not open to me. I have used one or two other sculptors and I'm sort of trying different things at the moment. But essentially, we've got into a position where we can recreate style of the figures. So when the next figures come, they will essentially be, hopefully, received in the same way and have the same look and the same style about them, which is the one that I really like, which is that sort of chunky, heroic, stylized look that they have. And I think people are going to find that it will take us maybe another 6 months before they start seeing any sort of growth in the figure line. But when it does happen, I hope they'll be pleased to see that they're not going to suddenly find that everything's changed and it's not what it used to be. I think they're going to find that actually it's a continuation of that theme. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he says, they'll be waiting to add to their colony militia and rebels and ferals and also see some new bits and pieces that go with it as well.
No, that'd be really good.
Okay, so for example, I did notice that recently you added 2 packs of new system troopers, assault weapons and missile launchers. Are they examples of the new style of sculpting?
They are. They're completely new. They did use some components. The weapon components are the same as are actually from the masters of the old stuff. But essentially, the figures, apart from the heads and the backpacks, were new to ensure that we could still do it.
Yeah,
that's good. I mean, if you've got the masters for the weapons, you're laughing, aren't you? Because you just then have to recreate the same sort of bulk as the old figures.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you just think, right, okay, there's a reason people like Pig Iron, and suddenly if I decide that I'm going to do true 28mm scale, anatomically 100% correct, in-scale figures with in-scale weapons, you're going to go, that's not Pig Iron anymore. It might look groovy, but it's not what I spend my money on, and it's not what I'm after. So, I think the very next release is going to be some colony militia using some of the existing masters, but they're going to be these separate torsos and legs to allow you to create some new poses, essentially, and also convert yourself, which again is the beauty of Pig Iron. And one of the things I liked the best about it was the range of heads and bodies and legs, and the fact that you could do weird and wonderful things with it and sort of add it to your own figures or other people's figures, or, sculpt your own legs. I found from our customers there are people who literally do their own, sometimes they literally do their own greased off legs. People use the legs on other people's plastic miniatures to give them a bit of weight. I was totally taken aback when somebody bought 6 packs of legs and nothing else, and was like, oh my gosh, what's this guy done? There's got to be a bad order. He's ordered the wrong thing. And when I inquired, no, he politely informed me that he wasn't losing his marbles, and actually he liked it on his plastic figures because it meant that they didn't fly around on the table all the time. So I always find it's quite amazing what people do with your figures, because again, our backpacks and weapons and things end up in the hands of other people's plastic miniatures, which I never thought of. Our heads end up on World War II plastic figures, which I never thought of. It's incredible, you know. There's such a variety of stuff going on. And of course, now, I mean, when I started, there was no, internet, Facebook and all the rest of it. You didn't know what the people were doing, and now it's just incredible. The sort of, particularly our American customers, there's a whole gang of guys just convert everything to death, to the point that even I have to look at it and go, is that one of our figures? Really? Oh yes, it is. Look, the legs. I recognise the legs, and things like that. It's just, it's fantastic. And we seem to have been accepted reasonably well. We haven't, everybody sort of seems just really grateful we're still here. One or two people every now and again say, "Oh, I heard you closed down." I'm like, "Oh no, we're still here. We're still here. It's all good." A lot of love for it, which is just how I felt about it, really. Which was just that initial, like, "Oh my goodness, it's going. I have to buy everything now," and I did.
You saved me, because I was giving serious thoughts to buying quite a few war droids at one point, just before they ceased to exist. But since you're planning on being around for a bit, I hope, I shall wait until I can actually afford it.
Well, one of my wargaming friends said to me, he said, "I'm going to do this pre-heresy army, and it'll cost a fortune if I do this." And I give the club a little bit of a discount, and he said, "I want 30 war droids." I was like, "Oh, okay, no problem." So that was almost one of my. I think that's certainly our largest war droid order. But there is a rather strange gentleman, or a wonderful gentleman, sorry, because he might be listening, in Switzerland who bought about 12 of them. And it's amazing what people use them for, Again, I did I think there's some Facebook photos I put up where I put the heads on them from the system troopers, and suddenly you see them in a whole different light. Suddenly they become power armor, and guys are buying them as power armored infantry and playing space Hulk with them and stuff like that. And I think it's just marvellous.
I never thought of doing that. Oh no, I think you just cost me some money.
That's another sale.
What a great idea!
It's like anything. I think the thing with wargaming and particularly anything that involves the model side of things is that you do it your way. And you look at something and you pick it up and you go, "Oh, that's what it is." And then a guy 5,000 miles away who's bought it picks it up and looks at it and goes, "Oh, it's this." And suddenly, it's like our colony ferals. No, they're not colony ferals. They're mutants from the Cursed Earth in the Judge Dredd game. And you're like, "All right, okay." And this war droid I bought, that's an ABC warrior. Oh, okay, cool. And these guys are the City Defence Force. And there's a chap out there and he's got his whole Judge Dredd set up. And apart from the judges, all the figures are Pig Iron. And I'm just like marvelled by it. Because, Judge Dredd's cool.
Alex, why did you have to say that?
No, is that another life ruined?
There'll be an order incoming soon, mate. I'm just looking at your feral troops again. Oh, yes. Okay. They're going to fit in with my Judge Dredd stuff.
Are they just?
Yep.
Oh, well, that's okay. I'm sure there's a wardrobe with your name on it. We'll just have to do, was it Hammerstein head now?
So remember, folks, especially Hobbsy, pig-iron-productions.com. And if you're lucky, he'll have made the sale before the end of the interview. It wouldn't be the first time.
I mean, again, with the tanks, I think something I need to do is, you was commenting on the size of the tanks. I'd never actually, because I'd only ever bought system troopers and heavy infantry, and I think a couple of war droids I had before I owned it. And of course, it turns out, we went to see it, and you get the tank in your hand and you go, "My goodness, it's a brick."
It is a literal brick, isn't it? I mean, and it's a gorgeous brick.
It's a very nice brick. And, it will dominate the battlefield for you with no problem in any of its multi-role, whatever environment. Whether it is, pacifying the Cursed Earth or tramping its way across the universe 40,000 years from now. It's wonderful. And again, what people do with them, One of our guys in the club, Nathan, has festooned his with World War II stoids. It literally painted them up in virtually US Marine colours, and he's got 3 or 4 of them, and they troop his colony militia around in some of our games in our possibly forthcoming rule set for 2018, maybe, if it all goes according to plan, fingers crossed. And, again, what do people see in it and use it for? Who knows? But rather a lot of people do.
You mentioned something then, Alex, and we're not going to let it drop. You mentioned a rule set.
Oh, a rule set. Oh, did I mention that? Well, I've been writing rules at various levels of quality for a lot of years, from the half page on the back of an exercise book to sort of quite complicated sets of never published rubbish. And hopefully, come next year, I'm going to have a go, because we're playtesting at the moment, a set of rules which is tentatively titled Colony Wars, and we are going to see if we can entice people to play that and use our figures for it. It will be, the premise of the game is a small tactical skirmish, probably up to about 30 figures aside, and the idea is intermingled turns, so sort of continuous play for both players, acting and reacting to each other, and sort of objective based, and to be played on a 4x4 or 6x4 table, that kind of thing. But at the moment it is in the development stages, and it's going quite well. We're playtesting at the moment. We're a long way from a final draft, but I'm sure you'll be the first to know when we're almost there.
I think we might have to have you back on to have a chat about it when that happens.
Well, I think that will almost be a certainty. But as I say, it wouldn't be till next year. But certainly it's proving quite fast-paced and fun to play. And so far, all the sort of reaction is quite positive. But as I say, it's still well in its development stage, and I don't want to rush it. I want it to be a finished and polished set of rules before it sees the light of public viewing, because I think it's the curse of some rules that they seem to have a lot of sort of errata and bits and pieces in them, and I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't be us, but great plans don't always work out that way.
Now, obviously one thing with Pig Iron is that, despite the fact they're a fantastic range of figures, and obviously as we've seen the ranges come out over the years, the ranges themselves almost tell their own story, if you like. But they've never and obviously you've been talking about the fact that people have been buying the figures and using them for 1,001 different things. But have you ever had people coming back to you and saying, okay, they're a great set of miniatures, but what rules do I use with these?
Well, when they've been because Pig Iron only ever really existed on the internet and very rarely appeared at a show to be sold, although it did that once or twice have resellers, that wasn't something that ever really occurred with it, I don't think. I have discovered that Pig Iron, I knew that Pig Iron obviously gets used a lot in 40k and 30k now. Yeah. It gets used a lot for, apparently people are using the heads and bits and pieces and the colony militias turning up in Conflict 47 games. Apparently, Gates of Antares, people are using it for their own rule sets. And obviously, as we mentioned, Judge Dredd, and a lot of people use it for role-playing as well. Games, again, 40k universe, things like Dark Heresy and Death Watch, but sort of cyberpunky type games as well. So it literally is a open and broad palette, and I don't think it was ever intended as this is our universe, though it will be. Right. But at the same time, I don't want to, I kind of like, and I've always liked, the idea of those figures are cool. What am I going to do with them? And I've always sort of bought figures like that half the time. I like to, I like that sort of free-from creativity of doing, having something where you can just say, well, I can take a bit of this and I can take a bit of this and put it together and do something with it. I think when we create a set of rules and we put a background with it and we say, these guys are this and these guys, they're going to do this and they've got this special ability and, your system troopers are going to arrive on the table, and your assault pods and your colony militia are really good at assaulting places, and your ferals have had a really bad day and they're just kind of sneaky, then suddenly people are going to formulate ideas about what the figures are for. But I still think, as long as we don't ram that home too much, I still think people will look at Pig Iron as a broad palette of figures and conversion pieces that they can do whatever the heck they like with. And that, I hope, sort of stays at the core of the business. But I also hope that they'll sort of come along, and as they have done, several people were at the Derby show and obviously at the York show and in Leeds, and once or twice people have, and usually the younger people, come up and sort of said, well, what do I use these for? And then I sort of say, whatever you fancy, and what do you think they'd use them for? And they say, oh, they look great in my Conflict 47 army, 40k army, whatever it is. And even somebody's actually using some for some standard World War II army, and I think that's heresy, but never mind.
I was thinking Warpath or Dead Zone myself. But...
Warpath's not a game I know very well.
It's only just come out.
So it's 28mm sci-fi. What's not to like?
Well, no. Yeah, absolutely. And no, I'm just making a note now, so I have to go look because again, it's that thing where you go, "What can I use it for?" Well, you can use it for Warpath, and I can.
Yeah, well, there's nice corporation troops and stuff in Warpath for which I suspect these will fit beautifully, and the infected as well.
Infected do seem to be selling. Infected seem to be deadly quiet, and then suddenly this year we seem to be selling them again.
Meaning no disrespect to any of the fantasy designers who do it, but it does seem to be a bit of a sci-fi trope, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and everybody's made good. I mean, you start with Alien and you just work on.
Absolutely. So I don't want to put them too much into their own boxes. I want to say, come and use our figures for whatever you like. Oh, by the way, these rules are cool. You should give them a go.
I like this, man.
And I think that is going to be our, corporate message for whatever two people operating out of their own home and kitchen can, have a corporate message. That's it.
I think one of the things we've said in the past is I don't know. I think irritating is quite the word, but you see so many figure ranges which exist to sell rules. And it starts to get a little wary after a while.
Yeah, I think so. But I think the thing is that rules do sell figures. For example,
absolutely.
We got in touch with last year, just after we'd bought Pig Iron. A chap called Bob Faust from America got in touch with us about a set of rules he was creating, and he wanted to use some of our figures in those rules. Could we send him some figures, and would we be interested? And they would appear in pictures in it, and Osprey were doing it. And Helen and I were a little bit sceptical because I kind of thought, is this some chancer who's trying to get his hands, get a couple £100 worth of figures for nothing, and let's have a look. So we sort of looked him up and saw that he'd done rules and bits and pieces, and one or two people had heard of him. So we chanced our arm, and we dutifully sent him a care package, wigging its way all the way over to California, I think, but I could be wrong. And dutifully he sent us some progress reports and things, and I still remained a little bit sceptical. But rather nicely, Scrappers is coming out, I believe, in April, in time for Salute. And there are lots of pictures of Pig Iron figures in it. And that's really nice.
Yeah.
So it turned out that our little investment was worthwhile. And I think what we've already found, because I see names on Facebook groups and names on our orders, which is that rules are selling figures. And you just can't help but think, well, I think part of the reason I want to create a set of rules is I want to see if all those rubbishy sets of rules and cool sets of rules and half-baked ideas that I've had over the years will actually turn into something that somebody else will look at, and you Neil might get a copy of them and go, hey, half of this is rubbish, but this other half's really cool, and that idea is great, and I would do this, and I'd do this, and hey, I've just got to go out and spend £40 on Pig Iron figures, because why wouldn't I? And that's what I'm hoping for. It might even just be a little bit of an ego trip to sort of, print my own set of rules. I don't know. I think it's the curiosity of knowing if something that I think's good, actually anybody else does. Because the other thing with Pig Iron is it doesn't have to make me a living. It has to be interesting, and I have to be enthusiastic about it. And it has to be cool and fun. And if it's not, then I ain't going to do it anymore. But we are going to do Pig Iron forever and ever and ever and ever. Because it is cool and fun, and it always will be. Because we'll find something else to make it cool and fun. Don't know what that is, but we'll do our best.
You mentioned earlier you had a laser cutter, and you done colony crates. So if you're producing your own set of rules, are you thinking of expanding and doing some terrain specifically for that, or?
Absolutely. In the next couple of months, you will see about 5 or 6 terrain items get added to the website. The colony crates are the simplest designs as I'm learning how to do it. They will be inexpensive, nice, good, chunky line-of-sight blocking items that you can spend hopefully a relatively small amount of money and make some sort of decent sort of spaceport or sci-fi interior terrain out of. There will be some habitation-type pods or colony base will be coming along, and they all have a bit of a theme, and that will include MDF, but also some cut acrylic as well. They're going to have some sort of quite large clear panels in them. But that's all I'd like to say about them at the moment. They're going to drop, hopefully, as I say, in the next month or two. And the idea is that as it goes on, you will sort of see it building towards the release of the rules next year, and then it will all sort of come clear as to why there might be bases on outlying weird and wonderful worlds where, you know, heavy infantry and militia are fighting over land or whatever else might happen to be lying around.
Now, the one thing you haven't mentioned so far, I mean, obviously, it's getting to be quite an extensive range you've got, or should I say, set of toys you've bought. But obviously, the other thing is you've got a range of what are described as near future troops, which I mean, they were. I think they were one of the last things that was being worked on before Pig Iron, before you took over the company.
Yeah, that's true. They sell reasonably well. They're not a big seller, but they are a good and consistent seller. They probably would benefit a little bit from having weapons that were a little bit more present day.
Yeah.
But I think they essentially have ended up in the realms of sci-fi for a lot of people, particularly as I noticed that the heads people buy to go with them quite frequently. I really like them. I think the squad we produced, the Op4 squad, which is basically just a set of the irregulars with the masked heads on, but essentially with the idea of just giving people an idea of how they could use them. Several people have literally bought a squad of the regulars and a squad of the opposition. I have no idea what they're doing with them, but that's happened on several occasions, and I guess people are fighting either on the same side, but I kind of hope that they're in opposition to each other. And again, it's with the Humvees that we produced, which was done very quickly after we got it. We bought the mould from Ainsley Castings, essentially because I knew it was the mould he had, and I'd used those Humvees because I do a lot of modern 28mm gaming as well, and I wanted that because I wanted a Humvee convoy for myself, and I thought it would go with our regulars and irregulars. And then the very first thing that happened with the Humvees is a lot of people in America bought them, which we found quite odd that we were selling Humvees to America. And then Australia seemed to go for Humvees, and so that was even weirder because we were selling Humvees to Australia, and we've done extremely well out of them. I don't know why. I was quite surprised. It was a purchase for myself for something that I wanted. And was a fairly inexpensive start to just getting something new on the website. And they've sold really, really well. And at the shows too. I don't know why. I'd have thought you could have got Humvees from everywhere, but apparently Humvees from Pig Iron are just slightly nicer. They are certainly slightly bigger.
Well, there is certainly that thing of, I know, having bought a couple from, I think, from a couple of companies in the past, so they kind of arrive and you think, yeah, I thought it was a bigger vehicle than that. So having something that's nice and big and chunky, even if it is slightly overscale.
To be honest with you, I think, how can I describe it? I always say to people they're in scale with our figures, and They are. They are. If you said 28mm, they're probably actually about 30. But I think next to ours, they look really good. They look good with other guys' manufacturers. I use a lot. My modern 28mm stuff, the Assault Group.
Oh, they go really well with those. Yeah, because it's the Assault Group have a similar sort of sculpting style, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They're a real favourite of mine. I've got a lot of their militia and bits and pieces. And even I have quite a lot of the Empress ones. Now, Empress figures are smaller, but they don't look daft. And I'm with Sean of the Bunkers value, which is that if it looks right, it's the right scale. And I've always believed that. If you just look at it and go, yeah, that's cool, then it's okay. And if you look at it and go, no, it's massive or tiny, well, it doesn't matter whether it's true scale. If it doesn't look right, it's not right. So, yeah. He says as he goes across as a group of colony rebels who are stood around a Humvee thinking, yeah, that looks right.
So, you mentioned assault pods. You teased a picture on the Facebook group a couple of weeks ago, didn't you? No, sorry, last week.
I did.
Last week.
Last week,
yeah, of an assault pod for, I don't know, for system troopers or whatever else you wish.
Anybody who's 28mm can get in there, I'm sure.
So is that a pod for a single,
operative? Yeah, or trooper. Yes, absolutely. I like the idea of, hopefully, fingers crossed, I can't give you a price right now, but I'm hoping that you might be able to get 2 or 3 of them for the price of a competitor's orbital insertion module. And
beautifully put, sir.
I'm hoping that will be the case, and I hope that you might think that actually my squad of system troopers in my game, and certainly when it comes to colony wars next year, that might be the way that your system troopers arrive on the table or can arrive on the table. Essentially, I think of a lot of things like this. They're not a playing piece as such. You don't need 20 of them. They're a marker almost. Mm. And I think it would be good to have an inexpensive marker for where your troops deploy from. And I think whether you feel that it's something that one guy's left out of or 20 guys have left out of, if you can just go, right, I can afford 3 or 4 of those and I've got enough for my army to deploy from, then you'll think that's cool. And I certainly do. It's certainly so far the nicest thing I think we've done. And I'm really excited about it. And again, it's another thing that I've kind of thought, I've always wanted to be able to buy that, and now I can. And I've been doing this long enough that hopefully there's at least 5 other people who'll agree and buy them. So we've done it with a scenic base for something for it to rest on, but I intend on selling it with the option of buying the base or not. So you can do your own thing with it. Again, it comes in a couple of different parts, and you'll be able to sort of do weird and wonderful things with it if you so desire. So we'll see how they go, but the initial reception seems fairly good. I anticipate we may sell more than 5, but you never know.
Cool. So it sounds like you've got, if nothing else, it sounds like actually you're probably going to be quite busy for the next 12 months. Having now kind of got into the swing of the business, it sounds like you're going to be, quite busy.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because, otherwise life will be dull, because I need, I've got 2 businesses to run, and Pig Iron's the really cool one, and the other one pays the bills. Helen has her own department to run her work, and all that goes along with that. Pig Iron's play as well as work, so that's good too. And it's just a pleasure, to be honest. It absolutely is. The people we sell to are fantastic. They are really keen and invested in it. And as much as I was before I bought it, I think I was entirely motivated by the idea of it not existing anymore. I don't know, on one level, I just couldn't let that happen. Mm. I didn't like the idea of it sort of disappearing into somebody else's range and being this, sort of unloved thing that just sort of maybe was tacked onto somebody else's business. I think it needed to be Pig Iron Productions and not the Pig Iron range in Joe Bloggs' online catalogue. And here we are. I think certainly over the last 12 months we've gone from strength to strength, which is that we're probably doing about triple the turnover that we were 12 months ago, and we have many, many irons in the fire as to what's happening next. We will, Pig Iron is definitely going to continue with our heroic scale sci-fi 28mm miniatures and some monsters, because any sci-fi range needs some monsters. And some buildings and terrain pieces, and just with the ethos of doing things that I find attractive and fun, and that hopefully other people will too. And I would also say that, I've listened to a lot of what our customers have talked about, and sort of that's given me ideas that I never thought of, and that will certainly, next year, there's one or two guys have mentioned that I don't wish to talk about. That will sort of come hopefully to fruition sort of mid to late next year. But in the form of possibly a complete new range of infantry. But fingers crossed, we'll see. But I do have a horrible habit of trying to do 95 things at once, and sometimes, as Helen, my wife, will point out, I have to do one thing and then do the next thing instead of 10 things at the same time.
Yeah. Mr. Hobbs, Mr. Whittaker, any questions?
I don't know if you want to go into the various ranges, but I think we've sort of covered those, haven't we?
We have kind of covered them.
Pretty much, in that kind of useful way that piques the listener's curiosity to go and do the rest of the work themselves.
Yeah, try to get on the webpage.
Go and look it on the webpage. It's rubbish on radio.
Indeed.
That's staying in.
Yes, definitely. So, Alex, it's nice to speak to somebody that you can actually turn around and quote that old Remington ad about. I liked it so much I bought the company.
It's sad we're over, but yes. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. I think I just love it. I really do. It's been an absolute blast. If the last 12 months are anything to go by, it's just going to get better. And I'm thrilled. I really am. I'm thrilled for the support we've got. I'm thrilled because it's as much fun as I thought it would be. I'm thrilled because it's frightening and it's cool. And I own a Wargames business, and who knew? And it's just great. And hopefully that that will just show through in the stuff that we do. And hopefully people will keep liking it, and it will have a slightly different feel. It won't be exactly the same as it was. But people can rest assured that Pig Iron is Pig Iron, and will continue to be for the foreseeable, sir.
Cool. Well, Alex, it's been fantastic to chat. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Just to remind people, if they want to find out what on earth we're talking about, it's www.pig-iron-productions.com. And you can go and have a look at all the pretty pictures of everything we've been talking about. You're also on Facebook as well, aren't you?
We are indeed. We're just on Facebook because I understand Facebook. That Twitter, that's weird. But yes, just Google Pig Iron Productions. You will find it, or you will be learning about how to make steel. We've got lots of fun and exciting things to look at. And to be perfectly honest, if you're into sci-fi or near future or weird and wonderful 28mm figures that you can use to convert your weird and wonderful 28mm figures, you're just going to enjoy yourself having a look around that site. Come along and have a look. Spend some money if you feel like it. Just enjoy yourself. Oh. And thanks for having us, Neil. It's been brilliant.
It's been great. Yes, make sure you bring a well-stocked credit card. You're going to need it. I say I'm looking at it, going to go. Oh yeah, I think I've currently spent about £500 just looking.
Well, that's fine. We have a direct email address at info@Pig Iron Productions, and if you wish to spend £500, give us a quick chat before you do it. You never know, we might do you a deal.
And I'm sure you can always facilitate the direct conduit from credit card to your bank balance approach if necessary.
Absolutely. It's a business, but it's a fun one. Anyway, as I said, Neil, thanks very much for having us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. So, yeah, lovely to chat, and hopefully we'll catch up soon. All the very best with Pig Iron. I think a heartfelt thank you from all of us for buying the company. And we look forward to seeing all the new toys that you're going to bring to us.
You're absolutely welcome. You're absolutely welcome. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. I mentioned last week that we would have another competition for you this week. And indeed we do. So, a new giveaway. This time, we have a relatively recent set of rules for you to give away. Okay, you may remember last year, Studio Tomahawk released Congo, which is a set of colonial warband rules. And we have a copy for you to win. So, what do you need to do to win? Okay, write and tell me, in no more than 140 characters, why you want a copy of Congo. Okay? Simple. Send the entries to competition@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk, and please make sure that you put the title on the email of Congo Competition. So you have until the 30th of April to get those entries into us. Okay? Entries in by 30th of April. Winners announced on the show that will be published on the 6th of May. Good luck, and I look forward to hearing from you. This is a message from The Cranky Lawyer. Huzzah! Please plan to join us for 3 great days of the best our hobby has to offer. Beautiful tabletops, challenging scenarios, board games, a wonderful variety of gaming-related shopping, and great company. Huzzah! May 19th to the 21st, 2017, South Portland, Maine. Miniatures games, board games, tournaments, vendors, raffle and great company. Join us for 3 days of fun. If you want to learn more about shoutouts, visit our Patreon page. The link is on the website. We always love to hear from you, our listeners. You can contact us in a couple of ways. You can do that via email at mailbag@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk, or you can now leave a voicemail message for us. The number to call is 0116 318 4114. Please note, call charges may apply. Wow, that was a good interview.
Yeah, really interesting. It's so good to see Pig Iron existing still.
Oh, yeah.
And not just being, I mean, it could have gone 3 ways, couldn't it? It could have just vanished completely and we would have lost it. It could have just been absorbed into a bigger company and we would still be able to get them, but, you know, maybe not have the love. But yeah, this is the best outcome. You know, we've got somebody who loves the figures, loves what they've done, and he's just going to move it forward. Fantastic.
And to boot, what a nice bloke.
Yeah.
Look, it was really nice to chat to Alex. I mean, I must admit, I wasn't aware of the I still can't pronounce it. Vapnartak.
Vapnartak, yeah.
Vapnartak. I wasn't aware of the Vapnartak connection, you know, at all. So that was a lovely surprise. That was a lovely surprise at the start of the interview to talk about that. Most people would probably say, "Oh, that's just poor interview. That's just poor interview preparation." but no, that was a really nice surprise. And yeah, as you say, it's so good to hear that Pig Iron is in really good hands.
Yeah.
And I'm just so excited about some of the plans he's got for what's coming out. My wallet isn't excited because at the moment I'm planning. Okay, well, I'll have a platoon of heavy infantry. Thank you. I'll have a platoon of colony militia. I'll have a platoon of system troopers, and that's just a start. It's like,
yeah. Why did he have to mention the people are using the feral troops for Judge Dredd? I'm like, yes, they work.
As soon as you mentioned it, I was yes, I could hear the screaming from your wallet. It is so good to see that they are that they're going to be around. When the news first broke that the company was going to stop, as you mentioned during the interview, it was like, oh no! Everyone, I think it was probably a load of people who suddenly looked at their miniatures bucket list. And as I say, their remaining stock plummeted in the space of about 24 hours. I think most of it just went. But it was just, again, just some of those ideas he was putting out. I mean, things like the doing the war droids with the with alternative heads, so they look like power armor as opposed to the droids. I'm thinking, what a fantastic idea, and stuff like that. And oh, dear. Oh, there's so much. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Oh, yeah, it was brilliant. Really, really good. So, that was really cool. Thank you to Alex. Really enjoyed that chat.
So, what's coming up in the next exciting show?
What's coming up in the next exciting show? Good question. Yes, we're talking to Rob Alderman in the next show from Hysterical Games. Who, if people don't know who Hysterical are, their primary product that people may have known about them is Panzerfaust, which is a kind of World War II fantasy game. Indeed. Much in the same vein as things like Flintlock in the past. Or should I say similar? Similar sort of vein. So we're
similar ethos.
Indeed. Yeah. So we're talking to them next week. So that's what's coming out in the next show. And then, as we have hinted at, following that we have a bit of an epic, and it was an epic about Epic.
Yes.
So that's coming up in a couple of weeks.
My fault.
Oh no, yeah, not at all. No, that's a really good. I mean, it was really interesting actually looking at the stir it caused on social media this week when you started talking about it. So it's quite obvious that it's a subject that is close to a lot of people's hearts, perhaps of a certain age, but it's a subject that perhaps will generate quite a bit of interest. Yeah.
Hope so.
And to be fair, it was a really good show as well.
Yeah, let's not give out any spoilers.
No, certainly that is definitely one worth listening to. So yes, that's what's coming up in the next couple of weeks, and then of course, on a note, just to say as well, is that the UK show season is in full swing, and whilst I've missed a couple of local shows due to my inability to drive, of course it's going to be Salute in a couple of weeks. So I'll be wandering around with the portable recorder, hoping to grab 5 minutes of several people's time. So we got that show that will be we'll kind of slot it in somewhere. Yeah, we're currently building up the next 3 months shows. It's kind of getting quite busy already, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it is a bit.
Yeah.
Well, up to shows planned up till July.
Yeah, we're kind of booking into July at the moment. So, warning: in the next month we will be getting a mailbag show. We haven't had a mailbag show for ages, so I think it's about time we had another mailbag show. So be warned: we will be putting that out on social media soon. I think that's about it, isn't it, sir?
I think so. Yeah. Next week, normal service will be back.
Normal service will be resumed. Hopefully, I'll have two fully functional hands. Although I suspect it'll take.
I I don't know where you're going. Just walk away from this link now.
Yeah, I was going to say something. I suspect it will. I suspect it will take a few weeks to get my wrist fully functional, but you know. Yeah, I think we'll. Walk away. Nothing to see.
Nothing at all.
Right. So until then, I'd like to say thank you for joining me to the Welsh Wizard.
Thank you for having me on, and thank you for letting me be very self-indulgent over the last 2.5 hours.
You will find out just how self-indulgent he was in a couple of weeks. But no, it's been a pleasure, and all that's left to be said is thank you one and all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it, and until next time, take care of yourselves. Happy gaming, and we'll speak to you really soon.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Meeples and Miniatures podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, why not share it with others by leaving us a review on iTunes? And if you have any comments or questions, you can always email the show. The address is info@meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. And you can also visit our webpage, where you'll find a complete episode archive, all the View from the Veranda podcasts, rules reviews, and our blog of hobby items and news, which is updated several times a week. This is also where you'll find the links to our presence on social media, and here you can follow us on Twitter or join our Facebook group. And finally, here you can also find details should you wish to support us by making a donation to the podcast. All this on the Meeples and Miniatures website, www.meeplesandminiatures.co.uk. The Meeples and Miniatures podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.